What if the day you thought was your last became the beginning of your true calling? Imagine being told that your time on earth is almost over, that the disease inside you is stronger than any medicine doctors can give. In that moment of despair, would you surrender, or would you fall to your knees and pray, believing that God still has a plan for you? This is not just a story of survival, but a story of divine purpose. A man once diagnosed with a life-threatening illness discovered healing not in science, but in the power of prayer, and his life was never the same again. Here is the question I want to leave with you. If God gave you a second chance, how would you use it? Would you chase after success, wealth, and applause? Or would you dedicate yourself to something greater, something eternal? His journey led him to serve, to give, and to build a nonprofit that became a beacon of hope for thousands. His life reminds us that being chosen is not about status, but about surrendering to the will of Christ. If these words stir something deep within you, don't turn away. Stay with me, because what comes next may be the message you have been waiting to hear. And maybe, just maybe, this could be the very moment God is speaking directly to your heart. Have you ever noticed how every great story, whether in books or movies, centers around the idea of a chosen one? From legendary heroes to everyday people, we are drawn to the theme of someone set apart, someone called to a greater mission. But here's the truth. In God's eyes, the chosen one is not a myth. It could be you. The real chosen one is not selected by human applause or worldly power, but by the whisper of the Creator, who knows your name and sees the depths of your heart. Think about it. In the same way a company chooses one individual to lead a vital project, or a family trusts one person to carry forward their legacy, God chooses people to carry out His will on earth. And often, He chooses those we would least expect: the broken, the weak, the overlooked. The man who was healed from his life-threatening disease did not become chosen because of his strength, but because of his surrender. By trusting God, his pain turned into purpose, and his weakness into testimony. Here is the mini hook. What if the very struggle you are facing right now is the proof that you are being prepared, not abandoned? What if your hardship is the training ground for your calling? And here is the bridge. The idea of being the chosen one is not a far-off fantasy. It is a daily invitation. When you look at your own life, can you see how the struggles you've faced might actually be shaping you into the person God has called you to be? This is where the story becomes personal. Because if healing and transformation, imagine standing on Judgment Day, not before a crowd, not before your family or friends, but before the one who created you. There will be no masks, no titles, no excuses, just you and Christ. In that sacred moment, the question will not be how many achievements you earned or how many people applauded your life. The question will be simple. Did you know Him? This is where the idea of the chosen one becomes deeply personal. Being chosen is not about outward religion or external rituals. It is about a living relationship with Jesus. You can attend church every Sunday, volunteer at every charity, or even build an entire organization. But if your heart has never truly opened to Him, then all of it is like building a house without a foundation. Strong winds will come, and without Christ at the center, it will collapse. The man whose story we are following understood this truth. His healing was not just physical, it was spiritual. It was God saying, "I have chosen you, not for what you can do, but for who you are when you belong to me. Think of it in everyday terms. You can know everything about a famous celebrity, what they like to eat, where they travel, the songs they sing. But if you walked up to them on the street, they would not recognize you. That is the difference between knowing about Jesus and truly knowing him. On Judgment Day, the difference is eternal. Let me ask you directly. If God himself looked at you today and asked, "Do you know me?" what would your answer be? Not, "I tried to be good," not, "I went to church," but, "Yes, Lord, I know you and you know me." That is the heartbeat of being the chosen one. It is not performance, it is presence. It is not duty, it is devotion. Think of it another way. In the same way, a child longs to be known and loved by their parent. Our souls long to be known by God. And in return, Christ calls us not just servants, but friends. He does not choose us because of our perfection, but because of his love. The survivor who once faced death discovered that truth, and it turned his entire life upside down. From sickness to strength, from despair to hope, he became living proof that the chosen one is not the strongest or the most successful, but the one who knows and is known by Christ. So here is the bridge to your own life. Where do you stand today? Do you simply know about him, or do you truly know him? On Judgment Day, that distinction will make all the difference, and the invitation remains open. He has already chosen you. Will you choose him? Here is a moment I don't want you to miss. Sometimes in life, there are turning points, small pauses where your heart whispers, "This is for you." Right now could be that moment. Think about it. Everything you've heard so far is not just another story, it's a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. They reflect what is truly there. When you hear about Judgment Day, when you hear about the chosen one, the question is not about someone else. It is about you. Are you listening, or are you only scrolling? What if the very question you avoid is the one that could unlock your future? What if ignoring this moment means walking away from the very message God designed for your heart? Don't mistake the ordinary for ordinary, because sometimes the most ordinary moment becomes eternal. What if this exact second in front of your screen is the very place where heaven is reaching for you? This is why I want to gently ask you, stay with me, not because of me, but because of what might come next. If you click away now, you might miss the very answer you've been silently searching for. And if your soul is restless, if your questions feel heavy, maybe it's because God himself is pulling you closer right now. If these words stir something within you, don't ignore it. Lean in. Let the rest of this message speak to you as if it were written with your name on it, because it just might be. And if your heart says, "Yes, this is for me," then keep watching, because the final question could be the most important one you've ever faced. Picture the man again, sitting in a hospital room, the walls closing in, the diagnosis echoing like a death sentence, every option exhausted, every treatment failing, and hope slipping away like sand through fingers. Have you ever felt that kind of despair? That moment when tomorrow seems impossible? For him, it was the darkest valley, but it was also the place where the voice of God became the clearest. Here is the heart of the question. If your life was already written by God, If your steps were already ordered by His hand, how would you receive it? Would you see sickness only as punishment, or could you begin to see it as preparation? For this man, what looked like the end was in fact the beginning of a calling. His despair was not wasted. It became the soil where faith took root. Think of it in practical terms. When a gardener plants a seed, the seed first goes into darkness, hidden beneath the soil. From the outside, it looks like burial, but in reality, it is transformation. In the same way, God sometimes allows us to be pressed down, broken, or even desperate, so that new life can rise. What felt like a burial in the hospital bed turned out to be planting, and the fruit was a life devoted to service, to building a nonprofit that touched countless lives. Now, let's turn that question toward you. What if the trials you face today are not random accidents, but intentional chapters in a story God Himself is writing? Can you accept that your disappointments, your detours, and even your deepest pain may be the very tools shaping you into the chosen one He has called you to be? This is not easy to accept. Our human hearts crave control. We want answers now, healing now, success now. But the testimony of this man proves that sometimes God's greatest gifts are hidden in what feels like loss. The cure did not just heal his body, it awakened his soul. His purpose was revealed not in comfort, but in crisis. So here is the bridge. Your story may not look like his, but the author is the same. If he could turn despair into destiny for a dying man, he can do the same for you. The real question is, when life feels like it is falling apart, will you trust that God has already written a better ending? And that question leads us directly to the next truth. Because what truly matters on Judgment Day is not what the world saw, but what God saw in the way you chose to walk with Him. We've just talked about how God can turn despair into destiny, and how every chapter of your life might already be written with purpose. But let's take it one step further. One day, when this life is over, there will be a moment unlike any other. The moment when your record is opened in heaven. Picture it clearly. No screens, no filters, no highlight reels. Just the truth of who you are, laid bare before the eyes of the one who knows everything. And here comes the question. When your file is opened in heaven, what will it say? Think about the contrast. In this world, our files are measured by resumes, bank accounts, likes, and followers. People scroll through our social media and assume they know us based on pictures, achievements, or clever captions. But in heaven, the records look very different. There, your worth is not calculated by how many people clicked like on your posts, but by how many tears you wiped away from another's eyes. Your follower count is not the number on a screen, but the souls you led closer to Christ. Imagine two folders sitting side by side. One is a glossy portfolio filled with degrees, promotions, vacations, and selfies. The other is plain, unpolished, but inside are testimonies. A widow comforted, a child fed, a stranger prayed for. Which one do you think heaven celebrates? This is why the man's story matters so much. His earthly file looked hopeless, sick, dying, defeated. But when God healed him, that file was rewritten. From then on, his record wasn't about illness, but about impact. He built an organization that lifted others out of despair. He turned his second chance into a living testimony. His heavenly file now overflows with moments of compassion and obedience. So here's the bridge to your life. What will your record say? Will it show a life lived chasing applause or a life poured out in love? On Judgment Day, the spotlight won't shine on your possessions or titles, but on your heart and the people you touched along the way. And that brings us face to face with the deepest truth of all. If God has already chosen you, then every act of kindness, every hidden prayer, every sacrifice becomes part of your eternal record. The question is not whether the file will be opened. It will. The real question is, what will be found inside? And this leads us naturally to the closing invitation, where we must ask, if today you don't yet have an answer, are you ready to begin writing a new story with Christ at the center? You've heard the story of a man who faced death and yet found life, not because of his own strength, but because of God's grace. His record was rewritten, not in the ink of fear, but in the ink of faith. And here is the truth. The same God who healed him, who gave him a second chance, is reaching out to you right now. So let me ask you, if today were your judgment day, what would your record say? Would it tell of a life chasing after temporary applause? Or would it show a heart that knew Christ personally? If you don't yet have an answer, let me remind you. Today can be the day you begin to write a new story. You don't need perfection. You only need surrender. You don't need to earn His love, because it has already been freely given. Here's my invitation. Take a moment right now. In the quiet of your heart, whisper a simple prayer. Lord Jesus, I need you. I choose you. That one decision can change everything. And here's my gentle challenge. Don't keep this to yourself. Write down your thoughts in a journal or share them in the comments below. Sometimes putting it into words is the first step to real transformation. And if this message has touched you, share it not just as another video, but as a gift, a seed of hope for someone else who needs it. Because in the end, this is the promise. You are never alone. The God who chose you is still with you, still guiding you, still listening. And He will walk beside you today, tomorrow, and on the final day when you stand before Him.